What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. This is the Canes game review episode for game number 7 of the season, a 6-3 win against the Chicago Blackhawks. Introing this game, Antti Raanta gets his first start as a member of the Carolina Hurricanes. At the other end of the ice, Kevin Lankinen gets a start in net for the winless Blackhawks. Early in the first period, I thought maybe the best line for this team in the game, Carolina's Svechnikov, Necas, and Trocheck. They had a really nice passing play early on. Kevin Lankinen ends up making a nice save. A little later on, Alex DeBrincat, I think we're going to be highlighting him quite a bit in this game as a member of the Blackhawks, but he gets a nice batted chance around Tony DeAngelo as he's battling one-on-one with him. Raanta ends up making a nice stop off of it. As the period kind of got quiet, it was a bit of a neutral zone battle at certain points of it. Jonathan Toews, his coming back after the illness he had last year, comes around the net, finds Brandon Hagel, a very nice power forward type of play from Jonathan Toews, finds Hagel right in the slot. No doubt about that one. I think Brett Pesce was a little bit out of position on this play. Again, not a great game from my perspective on Brett Pesce. We'll get to that later. Brandon Hagel, not going to miss, too many of those types of opportunities. He shoots, scores, and it's 1-0 Blackhawks. But just a little while later, a 2-on-1 forms and a very, very nice pass from Vincent Trocheck. Actually, it was kind of more of a 2-on-2. That's a second defender came back for the Blackhawks. Trocheck's pass gets through just perfectly through somebody's skates, misses a stick, finds Tony DeAngelo, who gets his second goal in as many games, and we're tied 1-1. Brady Shea would end up taking the first penalty of the game, sending the Carolina Hurricanes to the penalty kill. And on this penalty kill, Antti Raanta would make a great stop on a one-timer from Dominik Kubalik. However, a nice backhand working out in front from Adam Gaudette, the former Vancouver Canuck, who was acquired last year around the trade deadline. He spins and fires a backhand. I'm sure Raanta would want this one back. It's a solid backhand, and backhands are extremely tough to read for goaltenders. I'm sure he'd like this one back, but this is a pretty solid goal from Adam Gaudette, and the Blackhawks lead 2-1. Carolina will get their first opportunity on the man advantage in this game as Ryan Carpenter goes off. This is kind of where the game's momentum started to swing all Carolina's way. The power play was very good, had a lot of chances, but Chicago would end up killing it off. And immediately after the penalty gets killed off, a bouncing puck in front of the net. Ethan Bear, off balance, somehow corrals it, finds the captain, Jordan Staal, at the side of the net. Staal slides it through Lankinen, and we're tied 2-2. And immediately after that goal, the fourth line coming out and working very hard for the Canes. Derek Stepan walks from below the goal line with a nice backhander, slides it underneath Lankinen's pad, and suddenly it's 3-2. Then a weird penalty came up. I thought it looks like it was called a high stick. I didn't really see it in looking back at the penalty, but I think a stick probably did get up there. It was a really solid hit, but it looked like the hit was what was being called on the play. Svechnikov, who was all over this game physically, ends up going up against the boards and absolutely leveling Seth Jones. Just a picture-perfect hit along the boards, drops him. Looks like a stick might have come up. Svechnikov goes off for high sticking, and the Blackhawks go back to the power play. Carolina would end up killing that penalty off, and immediately after, the second line, as I mentioned right off the top of this video, in the first period where they had some nice passing plays, they get another. The pass ends up kind of on a sharp angle, but Necas just lets it go almost from the boards, below even the face-off dot. And I think it ends up hitting Kevin Lankinen in the helmet. But a nice one-timer, a nice passing play. This second line of Necas, Trocheck, and Svechnikov is clicking to start. A 2-on-1 starts forming up between Jesperi Kotkaniemi and Sebastian Aho. Aho with a slick feed over to Kokaniemi. He has all the time in the world and all the space in the world to shoot the puck. He finds the open net, and it's 4-2 Carolina. That is how the first period would end. A very busy flurry of a first period. 6 goals in total. The Canes lead 4-2 heading into the second. The second period is when Steven Lawrence would decide he was coming out to play in this game. He makes a nice power move to the net. Nice backhand, draws a penalty on the play from a new rookie Phillips on the Blackhawks. And on the ensuing power play, Aho tries to get a backhander pass across the ice, hits a defender in front, bounces right back to his stick, kind of on edge, and he raises that thing right into the top shelf. Canes lead 5-2 on the power play goal from Sebastian Aho. And immediately after the 5-2 Aho goal, the game just completely slips away from the Blackhawks. Svechnikov, really along the goal line, fires a puck and it finds its way through and into the net past Lankinen. It ends up hitting the skate or the foot or even the knee of Jake McCabe in front and finds its way just past Lankinen's pad and into the net. He didn't have enough time to react, and it's 6-2 Carolina. And then as we're, just about past the halfway point, a play I really don't like and I think deserves some criticism for Vincent Trocheck. A weird play in the neutral zone where Johnson is kind of skating and not very fast or anything behind Nichis, and Trocheck comes up behind him and cross-checks Johnson into Trocheck. In this kind of play, I don't like to say anybody's around trying to hurt guys, but this is pretty close to intent to injure as I've ever seen a Carolina Hurricanes player do. Maybe Pesci had that knee-on-knee or last season or whatever. Maybe that was the closest I've ever seen. This play I didn't like it at all, and I still don't like it. So we cross-check onto the back of Tyler Johnson. He crashes into Nichis in front of him, ends up hurting his shoulder. He didn't play on Saturday night for the Blackhawks against St. Louis, so not sure how long he'll be out. He went straight to the room. Very unfortunate. Hope Tyler's okay, because this is just a play that I don't like to see at all from any player in the league. It's not a good play. Trocheck gets called for a cross-check on this play. He goes to the box. Carolina would end up killing off this penalty. And then this penalty parade of the second period kind of kicks off here. Nichis would end up in the box again for slashing. Carolina would kill that penalty off as well. Steven Lawrence, again, just skating through the neutral zone, and the seas kind of perfectly part for him, and he just heads right to the net, draws another penalty on a partial breakaway. Canes go back to the power play. And as the Blackhawks end up killing off this power play, Ethan Bear runs into the player coming out of the box and gets called for tripping. And on that power play, the best chance for the Blackhawks, probably all game really, Alex DeBrincat ends up with an open net to shoot at. Antti Ranta's flopping around like Dominic Hasek in the 90s. And as DeBrincat goes to get his stick on this puck, Derek Stepan reaches his stick, deflects the puck out of play. Brandon Hagel would add one more chance, but Ranta makes a big stop to end the period, and we head into the third, 6-2 Carolina. In the third period, Tony DeAngelo, who's got an assist, he's got a goal already in the game. He decides he's going to go get his Gordie Howe hat trick. He has a fight with Reese Johnson, I think his name is. I didn't even know who this player was when he was fighting him, because I knew there was a Johnson on the team. I knew of Tyler Johnson. I didn't know about Reese Johnson. So, yeah, a fight that kind of goes, I would say it's pretty even. DeAngelo gets the wrestle down to the ground, but DeAngelo also ate one of the cleanest right hooks I've ever seen in my life. Hypes up the crowd. This was probably the best game Tony's had so far. He's been pretty good these last few games for this team, and yeah, this was a very solid game from him. After that fight, Connor Murphy comes in, hits Svechnikov. Big scrum ensues. Chicago ends up with a power play out of it. And on that power play, Alex DeBrincat doing the break-in for the Blackhawks, finds some open ice, shoots in between the defender's legs, and finds its way past Ranta with a nice shot. No discredit to Ranta on this play. Alex DeBrincat is so good. It's a 6-3 hockey game. Jacob Slavin, who I thought was pretty quiet all night, but was making some solid defensive plays, and that's usually Jacob's game. Usually typically pretty quiet until he really needs to be. He ends up making a very nice play on a potential 2-on-0 as the pass is trying to come across from right around the scorekeeper's area. Slavin just goes up and bats that puck down out of the air. A very risky, aggressive play, but it worked out. And then unfortunately the injury bug turns around and bites Carolina. So on a pretty innocent looking play, Nino Niederreiter ends up just his skate. He's kind of like angling his skate to maybe turn or start a pivot or something, and you can kind of just see the skate like it releases. That's the best way of describing it, but it really gave me some flashbacks to the 2019 NBA Finals when Kevin Durant came back to play against Toronto, coming off an Achilles injury, and he makes that move and he just tore his Achilles again, and it was awful to see. This is what I kind of suspected was happening on this play. I haven't seen anything talking about Niederreiter yet. Hopefully see something about the projected lines. Maybe he's not out long. Maybe he's fine. Maybe he just tweaked something. Could be just a slight sprain or something, right? And it was also a 6-3 hockey game at this point. There's no reason to put Nino back into the lineup, especially with just minutes to play in this type of game. So obviously just hoping for the best for Nino Niederreiter. Hopefully he's not too injured, and he's not missing considerable amounts of time. The Blackhawks would end up scoring a goal late into the third period here, and it ends up being waved off for goaltender interference, and as a result, it is a goaltender interference. They kind of shoved Ronta into the net. Can't do that. No goal on the play. And that would do it for this game. 6-3, Carolina wins and improves to 7-0-0 on the season. All right, so let's go ahead and highlight some players tonight for the Carolina Hurricanes. So players I thought were good. Steven Lawrence, honestly, all over this game in the second and third periods, drawing penalties, working his way to the net, getting great chances. Tony DeAngelo, a goal, assist, and a fight in this one. Probably his best game as a member of the Carolina Hurricanes. I think I talked about it pretty extensively already, but to kind of reiterate, there was a lot of discussion that they were just bringing Tony DeAngelo in to this roster to replace Hamilton's production for cheaper. Well, I think that is true to some extent. I really do believe it was more or less bringing in DeAngelo and Bear to shore that up. You get a player who's a little bit more physical in DeAngelo as well to play that third pairing role as opposed to Jake Bean or Hayden Fleury. He's been very, very good so far. I think he's obviously had some games where he's kind of admitted himself. He's overhandled the puck. He hasn't made the right decisions, and he seems to be pulling away from that, which is awesome. I thought probably the guy who got the least amount of shine in this game but was very good was Svechnikov. Physically, his best game of the season, throwing hits all over the place in this game. Gets the goal off of Jake McCabe's leg. Yeah, that was just, at that point, that was the burial of the game, and there was no looking back. I thought it was another weak game from, not necessarily a bad one, but a bit of a weaker game than we were expected from Brett Pesce. I'm wondering at this point if he's fighting an injury or something, because he's not Brett out there in the best way I can put it. He's been very behind the play, and like he's had some really good moments, and then there's been some where, like on the first goal with Hagel, he's just nowhere close to the play and diving to try and get into it, and that's not the typical Brett Pesce we're used to. So I think of any players so far this season, I think I've talked about Pesce in like a average way more than anybody else. Taking a look at some of the analytics stuff behind this game, Brady Shea apparently had a worse game. I didn't really see that in this one. The eye test maybe failed me in that regard, but I didn't think Shea was too bad in this one. I think he was just fine. Trocheck, I thought he had a solid game. I'm just really unhappy with that play with Tyler Johnson. And Antti Ranta looked real shaky in this one. I don't think he even came out with a 900 save percentage or anything like that. Yeah, he looked real shaky to start this game, and he ended up fine at the end of it, but it could have went a lot worse. At the same point, though, Frederik Andersen looked real shaky in game one of the season when he started, so let's just attribute it to opening night jitters for Antti Ranta. And I don't have any bad players for the Canes in this one. I didn't think anybody had a bad game. You win 6-3. You control the game basically from the second period on. I thought it was, a solid game from everyone. Just some players that were highlighted in a little bit of a negative way. And to highlight a Blackhawks player, let's highlight Alex DeBrincat. I can't believe how many people passed on this guy in the draft just because he's about 5'8 or 5'9". So many teams. A Canes prospect right now, Igor Korshkov, was drafted ahead of him. Not, of course, by Carolina, but by the Leafs. A lot of players that you could look at and be like, how the hell did they go ahead of Alex DeBrincat? And it was really just due to his size. Nobody wanted to draft him due to the fact he was a smaller forward. But he's showing everybody that was absolutely ridiculous not to draft him based on that. He's one of the better puck handlers. Probably aside from Patrick Kane on this team, he's the best puck handler on the Blackhawks. Got the nice snipe in this one. Probably could have had 2 if Derek Stepan doesn't make a great defensive play on him. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up down below and hit that subscribe button. Also, hit that notification bell beside the subscribe button so you get these videos as soon as they upload. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next one.